me that green light. Give me that green light, Maine. Give me that green light. Give me that green light, Maine. Give me that green light. Give me that green light, Maine. Give me that green light. Give me that green light, Maine.
This episode of Greenlight Maine is sponsored by the Maine Department of Economic and Community Development, helping businesses and communities prosper.
Good morning and welcome to Greenlight Maine. I'm your host, Julene Gervais, and this week we have another show of superstar entrepreneurs on deck to compete for the $100,000 grand prize. This show is unique as it helps companies expose, promote, and expand their business and grow the progressive Maine business community. Now let's meet today's judges deciding who of the two contestants will move on to the next round of competition and get even closer to the $100,000 cash prize. They are all from the Maine business community, and first I'd like to welcome back Doug Gray.
Yes, I'm glad to be back, and I am the Director of Business Development at the Maine Department of Economic and Community Development, and we help businesses of all sizes grow and hopefully become more prosperous in the state of Maine.
Excellent. Next up, we have Cameron Bonsi. Welcome.
Thank you for having me here. I'm the Director of Marketing for Coast Maine Brands, and we take ocean byproducts and we make organically approved gardening soils and fertilizers that we sell to independent retailers.
Interesting. And finally, we have Aaron Frederick. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I am co-founder of a youth development organization in Portland called Ripple Effect. I'm in recovery as a nonprofit co-founder and now work as a consultant to organizations to help leaders develop their skills and organizations reach their financial goals.
Perfect. A great panel. We look forward to talking to you more in just a few minutes. First, I would like to introduce you to today's first pitch. It's Bangs Island Mussels, and welcome to Matthew Moretti. You are growing fast and diversifying, so tell us about that.
Absolutely. Happy to be here. So I don't go into in my pitch tonight, but I'll be our company is actually recently diversified into two different species. Our bread and butter by far are Bangs Island mussels, but we've recently started farming Bangs Island kelp and also Bangs Island scallops.
Wow, good for you guys. Well, welcome to Greenlight Maine. We're so happy to have you, and whenever you're ready, take it away.
Thank you. So good morning. My name is Matthew Moretti, and I'm the president and co-owner of Bangs Island Mussels. In 2010, my father and I started our company with one mission: to grow the finest seafood using only environmentally sustainable methods. We chose to farm mussels, one, because they're delicious, also because they have positive environmental services. Mussels are filter feeders, so by their very nature of growing and living in the ocean, they help improve the water quality. We farm mussels using rafts on two very specific sites in Casco Bay. We have 10 rafts total, and underneath each raft, we have hundreds of lines hanging directly down into the water. Our mussels grow on those lines. Our mussels spend their entire time in the water column where they have uninterrupted access to nutrients, and they spend all of their energy growing a fat, sweet meat and only a thin, delicate shell. Bangs Island Mussels has become one of the largest rope-grown mussel farms on the east coast of the United States and a nationally recognized brand. We have distribution in target markets across the United States. But that hasn't always been the case. We started out as a tiny, one-employee farm growing less than 30,000 pounds of mussels a year. 8 years later, with no outside investors, we now have 9 employees, and we're growing over 200,000 pounds of mussels each year. Our revenue this year is projected to top $550,000, but that really is only a drop in the bucket in the larger U.S. mussel industry, which is valued at $70 million a year. That industry is growing at 4% per year, and we think and we hope and we will be able to make an impact in that larger industry because the demand for our product is so incredible. We are a premium product and we have a premium price tag. But each year we increase the price of our mussels, and we actually end up selling out each year. So our biggest hurdle right now is supply. The demand for our mussels is off the charts. We can't even come close to satisfying it. Our biggest hurdle is supply, and we need more mussel rafts where we grow the mussels in order to grow more Bangs Island mussels. That requires money, which is where Greenlight Maine can make a big impact on our business. With the $100,000 prize, we will put that money directly into 3 mussel rafts, which will increase our supply by 75,000 pounds of mussels a year. But more so, we will take that mussel raft investment, leverage it against a bank loan or a grant, and turn it into 7 more mussel rafts, which will allow us to start a whole new farm on a new specific farm site on the coast of Maine. This will double our mussel production a year to over 500,000 pounds and allow us to hire 4 additional full-time year-round staff members. We have the site selected, we have the support of commercial lenders. Now all we need is the funding to make our goals a reality.
Nice job.
Thank you.
First question, Doug.
All right, so you talk about really expanding the business, almost doubling the size of it. Do you feel confident you can get the workforce to help you with this?
Absolutely. We haven't had much trouble attracting employees or workers in the past. There's a certain romance about working on the water, which I'm sure you can imagine. Spending your days out in the ocean on the coast of Maine. I mean, that's sort of one of the reasons that I was attracted to this business in the first place, and it definitely carries over to a lot of people.
Cameron.
What is the size of the actual farm? How much space does it take up? And are there permitting issues? Is it difficult to get a permit?
We lease our growing areas from the state of Maine. There's a rigorous process to go through that's rigorous by design because we need to be able to get along with all the other users of the ocean. But we do lease the growing areas from the state of Maine, and we currently have 3.66 acres, which is actually a shockingly small amount of the water to be taking up for all the biomass we can produce.
Aaron.
Wondering about value-added products in comparison to the raw product that I'm sure you're selling well. Is that something you're considering, and does that allow you to reach a broader market?
It potentially could. Right now, we're picking the low-hanging fruit. We have a vast market for our raw, whole, ready-to-consume mussels, and that's what we're focusing on. In the future, the door's open to add a value-added product, but right now, we think it would be a bit more of a distraction than worthwhile.
Tell us about, have you had any dark days?
Dark days.
How do you overcome them?
Dark days can happen on the water. Sometimes, before you even know it. The weather is a big factor for us. We don't really get surprised anymore. We've been doing it long enough, but big storms could be an issue. But we like to think that the dark days become nicer days because it can sort of change the pace of what we do. Instead of doing our normal routine, we have to innovate a little bit. If something broke, we get the chance to fix it and make it better, so hopefully it doesn't break again in the future.
Great pitch and great questions from our judges. We had to take a break, but we'll be right back, so don't go away.
Greenlight Maine would like to thank the Maine Department of Economic and Community Development, the Maine DECD, helping businesses and communities prosper.
Never gonna forget this ever. This is me.
Are you trying to increase sales? At Dream Local Digital, we've been helping businesses using Facebook, Google, and other online tools for over 8 years. We're experts at helping small businesses because we work with them nationwide.
Dream Local publicizes the important part of me and what I stand for and what Archers is about.
We'd love to help you grow your business as well. Give us a call today.
Welcome back to Greenlight Maine. Our sponsor conversation this morning is with Doug Ray, who is the Director of Business Development for Maine DECD. And you're also my longtime friend from the news business. We were just saying that it's been, since Tom Brady's rookie season that we worked together?
Yeah, I know. We were both at Channel 13, and I left in 2011. And yeah, it was nice to work with you then, and it's good to be back.
So great to work with you now.
Yeah.
And so DECD, tell us, a lot of our viewers at home don't know what it is that you do.
Yeah, well, it's the Department of Economic and Community Development, and it's a state agency. It's the smallest cabinet level agency within Maine state government, but it's probably one that has the greatest impact on the greatest number of people in the state of Maine, because we help businesses, large and small, grow and become more prosperous in Maine.
Great. And you do that by, you have account execs?
Right. Yeah, we have governor's account executives that are, some are industry-based, but others are primarily focused in geographical areas around the state, and really, when you deal, business interaction, a lot of it has to do with, the state government, whether it's getting licenses from, DEP or Health and Human Services, or, the regulations. Governor LePage has made it his priority is to make Maine more competitive. And, you see over the course of 8 years, Maine is doing very well. And we are trying to streamline regulations as much as possible and make Maine open for business, because it can be sometimes of a bureaucratic maze that businesses, and it's frustrating for them to go through that. So we try to be their liaisons in navigating state government and making them more prosperous.
So you're here to help. So if somebody watching has a business and has trouble with licensing, they should call the department.
Yes, absolutely. And we have a business answers line that, some people just have very basic questions, like how do I get a sales tax certificate? And we'll connect them with Maine Revenue Services. But a lot of them, are more complicated, and trying to seek financing. But we have partnerships with the Finance Authority of Maine and MTI, the Maine Technology Institute, and so we can help facilitate those relationships.
Perfect. So can you give us some juicy tidbit that's going on with like state economic development that we don't know?
Yeah, I mean, there is a lot happening in our forest products industries. I mean, we've heard over the last few years of paper mills closing, and certainly that is impacts a lot of families and a lot of people in the state. But our forest products industry, it's in a state of transition. And there are people, from the federal government on down that are really focusing on really transforming the forest products industry, and we are right in the middle of that. We just saw some major investment in the Rumford mill, and the company that bought that, a Chinese company, is one of the largest forest products companies in the entire world. And we're actually meeting with them very soon. And there are a lot of potentials that are happening. So I think Maine's economy is doing well, and it's because this administration has really fought to make Maine as competitive as possible.
Excellent.
We're starting to see those results.
Great message. Well, thank you so much for helping all the contestants on the show, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.
All right, thank you, Julie.
All right, we'll be right back right after this message.
For almost 25 years, Maine Biz has been providing business news, information, and analysis for business owners and C-level executives in Maine. From Fort Kent to Kittery, Maine Biz serves the decision makers of Maine across multiple channels, including its flagship print digital publication, website, events, daily report, real estate insider, and weekly newsletter. Let Maine Biz help your business succeed. Inform, engage, connect.
Welcome back to Greenlight Maine. Our second pitch is Ocean's Balance, and I'd like to welcome Lisa Scally. We're going to get some seaweed education. Tell us, why should we eat it?
Seaweed is the most nutrient-dense plant on the planet. It has all the vitamins and minerals a body needs to be healthy, and it's also a zero-input crop. It requires no arable land, no fresh water, no additional feed, and no added fertilizer in order to grow. So it's not only good for your body, it's good for the ocean.
Perfect. Welcome to Greenlight Maine. Have fun with your pitch, and whenever you're ready, take it away.
Thank you. Ocean's Balance makes innovative seaweed products from sustainably grown and harvested seaweed. We have a team of 3 individuals who have unique and complementary skill sets. We launched our operation 18 months ago with a groundbreaking product, kelp puree, which was the only shelf-stable, ready-to-use ingredient on the market at that time. We started in an 850 square foot facility in Portland, and we went from store to store throughout Maine and northern New England and began to develop distribution relationships. We're now in 100 stores up and down the East Coast, as well as in Canada and California. We've recently launched 9 new products to kind of round out our offering, and we've already outgrown our facility in Portland, and we've moved into a new facility in Biddeford that's 3,000 square feet and purpose-built to suit our needs. We have doubled, in the first 6 months of this year, we've more than doubled our revenues for the entire previous year, and we've done all of this without any additional investment. So the edible seaweed industry is a $7 billion industry, and it's set to grow to $12 billion by the year 2022. Seaweed is one of the fastest growing food trends in the United States. Just last week, an article appeared in Martha Stewart magazine entitled 5 Food Trends That Are About to Be Everywhere, in which seaweed was listed as number 1, and Ocean's Balance was the featured manufacturer with a photo of our kelp puree. Now that was really great, but the reality is 98% of the seaweed that Americans consume is imported from Asia, where crowded growing conditions, questionable water quality, and the Fukushima accident don't compare to the pristine waters of the Gulf of Maine. Part of our mission is to help people understand that not all seaweed is alike and to reduce our carbon footprint. We have a first-rate harvesting and farming operation headed up by one of our partners. But unlike other Maine seaweed companies that sell bulk seaweed at relatively low margins, we are focused on creating value-added, innovative products like these and to create a strong national brand. So, what would we do with $100,000 from Greenlight Maine? We are actually in final stage conversations with a very large grocery store chain that is interested in picking up our entire line of products. And so we will need to invest in larger and more automated machinery in order to meet this new need, as well as demand that we anticipate from other buyers. And now I'd like to introduce my partner, Mitchell Lynch, who will help out with the Q&A.
Fantastic pitch. First question, Doug.
Well, obviously, this is a growing industry. Talk about the education of the consumer that has to take place, to meet the demand and buy these products that you're growing.
You're right. Education is a big part of what we do. We spend a lot of time going to stores, doing in-store demos, and kind of teaching people about the nutritional benefits and the ecological benefits of seaweed. And that's how we're doing it, store by store.
So should people put it on everything they eat?
Absolutely.
All right. Cameron, next question.
So we use seaweed in some of our gardening products too, and I understand a little bit about the nutrient value, but I was also wondering about what it takes to set up a seaweed farm, what kind of space you need, and what kind of volumes you can expect.
Yeah, the cost to set up a seaweed farm is fairly minimal, especially if you already have a boat. It just takes a couple of anchors, some buoys, and it's really, we have a nursery where we provide the seed to not only our own farms, but also we're trying to bring in fishermen and lobstermen along the coast to set up their own farms. So it's not too complicated.
Talk a little bit about the environmental capacity. Obviously, with 98% of the market share coming from very far away, there's a lot of opportunity here to buy local and grow local. What are the limiting factors that you're facing on the Maine coast for producing and meeting market demand, should it, and as I'm sure it will, show up for you?
So the ramping up of the Maine seaweed industry, it's not going to happen overnight, but the actual impact on the environment is not only low, but it's actually there's a net positive. It's one of the only zero input crops out there, but also Bigelow Labs and other marine laboratories have shown that it reduces ocean acidification, and it also is a great way to sequester carbon. So from an impact perspective, it's extremely low.
How many employees do you have?
It's the 3 of us for the moment.
Okay. And you're looking to expand?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Next question, Doug.
How do you go about developing your products? You have the sprinkles, the puree. I mean, talk about the developing of the products and the lines you're doing.
The first product, the kelp puree, was developed by Tolliff, who previously had developed a frozen product and took that idea and said, there's a real need for shelf stable. So we created that product. The sprinkles, we took a product that was already out there in Japan, and we kind of made it in a healthier version. We're working on 2 new products right now, which we're working with a development company to help us in terms of the launch of those a little more complex products.
Very informative answers, some great questions by our judges. We have to take a quick break, but when we come back, our judges are going to weigh in on both companies, so don't go away.
Furniture for Greenlight Maine is provided by Thomas Mosier Furniture, handmade American furniture since 1972.
Are you trying to increase sales? At Dream Local Digital, we've been helping businesses using Facebook, Google, and other online tools for over 8 years. We're experts at helping small businesses because we work with them nationwide.
At Horch Roofing, we pride ourselves on doing quality roofs, not social media and direct marketing. That's why we hire the professionals at Dream Local.
We'd love to help you grow your business as well. Give us a call today.
In 1972, Tom Moser committed his life's work to craft, and 4 decades later employs 70 fine craftsmen and women in our shop in Auburn, Maine. With showrooms and customers from coast to coast and numerous awards and accolades, Tom has firmly established himself as an entrepreneurial tour de force and has proven that a life doing what you love is indeed possible.
This year's winner of Greenlight Maine will win this handmade Thomas Moser beacon box and $100,000. Broadcast facilities are provided by Husson University's NESCOM, the New England School of Communications.
Welcome back to Greenlight Maine. This is the part of the show where the judges deliberate. We can't wait to hear what you think of both of these companies. Let's start with Bang's Island Mussels. Matthew did a great job.
He did a great job. You know, I was a little disappointed we didn't get to taste any of his of the mussels, though. But you know, I thought he did an excellent job, and what I really liked is that he was going to use this money, and you know, the leveraging of getting more of these rafts, and really, you know, how this would really grow his company. I think that was impressive.
Yeah, doubling output was, I think, the term I heard, and that's exciting for him. The thing I liked as well is the commitment to local. He was very devoted to moving up the Maine coast. It sounded like his continuity throughout the season was going to create some sort of innovative move within the market broadly. So, so that was fun.
We had a thoughtful plan too for when you were saying moving up the market and making sure you didn't get into any issues with something like red tide. So if there are any issues with weather, that he was going to have that protection too. That
was a smart strategic plan. And if he gets up to the mid-coast, if the red tide comes into Casco Bay, he's in production. And he said nobody else, no other company is doing that right now in Maine. So that's set him apart. Yeah.
What about, what do you guys think about him competing with Canada? You know, it's a pretty, I mean, they're right next door, and they're the giant.
That's right, yeah.
Go
ahead.
Well, I mean, one of the things that was, at least from what he said, is that his the amount of meat in those mussels, and they're known for their quality. Right. There's something there. We couldn't get a clear answer on what that was, whether it's the way he harvests or whether it is the environmental factors of what he's doing. But yeah, I think that he definitely, people want to buy local, and there's all kinds of stuff going on between Maine and New Hampshire, Maine and Canada. So
yeah, absolutely. I think having eaten Bang's Island mussels for years in a number of different restaurants, I can say on personal experience that I look for them. Right. So if that's a conflict of interest, I apologize. But
no,
he does have a great product, and you know, I know those little PEI mussels as well, and they're disappointing once you've had the Bang's Island product.
Yeah, he said the shell's 60% full of meat.
Absolutely.
And the others are what, 30%?
30. Yeah.
That was huge.
Well, and he's diversifying because they're doing kelp and scallops too, and you recognize the brand, so hopefully that would carry over to those other products also.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I liked how he talked about he's working with CEI on a grant to do the scallops with a first-of-its-kind instrument from Japan that's never been used here before.
That was interesting, that process too, about how they drill in there and then the scallops basically live their lives just hanging out, eating. I'd like to do that myself.
Sounds fantastic. Okay, let's switch gears. How about Ocean's Balance? Yeah. They, you know, have a very big product line, and they're growing, and they just moved into 3,000 square feet in Biddeford.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, adding 9 SKUs. I mean, they are growing. You know, it's a $12 billion industry. You know, we got a chance to sample some of their product, and you know, when you talk about their ability to grow, I mean, there are only 3 people right now. I love the packaging of the product.
I love the packaging too.
So I thought that was, you know, a great plus, and you know, just their seaweed is so popular, you know, around the world.
Right.
And I think that's
well, I didn't completely understand how they set up the seaweed farms, but from the way that they made it sound and how fast the seaweed grows and how they can actually hopefully get some lobstermen out there doing this too to create a larger economy, it seems like they could ramp up pretty quickly.
Yeah, if they could create a production network that could match the demand, we're talking an industry of billions of dollars, whereas Matt's industry is in the tens of millions of dollars, at least nationally, what they reference. So is there, how to compare these guys when they're playing in different sized swimming pools is going to be tricky.
That's a great way to describe it, absolutely. And you're supposed to put it on everything you eat. We did get a chance to taste it. It's really good.
It was outstanding.
You don't notice it as much. I guess that's the good thing.
It just kind of all blends in,
Yep,
right?
that's true.
Okay, so if you see either one of them in the finals, what would you like to see from them?
I think one of the questions I have is just about scalability for the state of Maine. And we used the reference earlier about the Quimby effect and what happens when an entrepreneur goes out and really scales something up. It can come back and have real benefit to the state, as we've seen with philanthropic work, et cetera.
Okay, we got to go. So real quick thoughts from each of you.
I think that's just a huge part of it, benefit to the state, and how does that brand impact the state of Maine.
I agree.
All right, we got to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to find out who's moving on. Don't go away.
We're very proud of the product we make and the way that we make it. The most important features of our original dog vest are in its design. Traditional lenders, they steer away from unproven track records. In you come. Hold up. CEI gave us the opportunity to build a track record, show that our future path will be more solid than our past.
Never gonna forget this ever. This is me.
Welcome back to Greenlight Maine. The aquaculture business in Maine is booming, but unfortunately only one can move on. Judges, who's it gonna be? Congratulations to Ocean's Balance. Lisa and Mitch are moving on in the competition. That's all the time we have for today. We appreciate your feedback, so check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Learn more about our resources, the contestants, or if someone you know has any interest in starting a business, visit us at greenlightmaine.com. Have a happy Sunday. Congratulations. Nice job. Congratulations.
Greenlight Maine has been brought to you by the Maine Department of Economic and Community Development, the Maine DECD, helping businesses and communities prosper. Greenlight Maine would not be possible without the support of all of our corporate sponsors. Thank you.
Greenlight Maine has been a paid-for presentation by the Portland Media Group.